Hi, this is the fifth discussion about ourselves and to understand ourselves better. The first one related to suffering, which is always, a great mystery for many of us. The second was who are we, really? The introduction. And the third was about human values. The fourth was about the many forces within us. I called it our many eyes. And this is the fifth discussion, and this one is about compassion. And it's a feeling or an experience that's only come to me, later in my life. I must admit, as a younger person, I was highly intellectual and was certainly arrogant. And, through the different experiences of life, I've come to this or some realization of compassion. And I think it's a very important subject. The world we find ourselves in, the universe we find ourselves in, seems to have many, many different forms of duality. It's just the way it's architected. And one of the forms of duality is what could be termed ignorance and enlightenment. So we've got the two extremes of knowledge, of self-knowledge. And my understanding of why we're here is that we're on a journey from ignorance to enlightenment. So ignorance is just as much part of the whole experience as is enlightenment. And hence, in our lives, no matter how good or perhaps how bad we are, hopefully not, we're going to come across both. So we'll always come across ignorance, and we'll always come across enlightenment. And we need to understand these different polarities of experience and understand how to deal with them. Compassion, I believe, could possibly be defined as the full understanding of ignorance. Because many of us, when we come up against ignorance, and for example, people who might want to hurt us, or people who abuse us, whether they're right or wrong, they cause us difficulties. We have different ways of responding and reacting to these situations. And a lot of us actually give back what is given to us. That's the old philosophy of an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth. So if someone's mean to us, we mean back to them. If someone is aggressive towards us, we're aggressive back to them. And if someone hurts us, we hurt the other person. And this is just pure reaction. It's a very poor level of behavior. And it comes from the lower chakras, which we've discussed to some degree so far. It's all to do with the lower ego and the little I, that I get hurt because someone says something or does something that I don't like, so I react. If we understand the universe in a better way, we'll realize that certainly we have things to learn, and I think if we at all attempting to improve ourselves, when we do get something that hurts us, we look within ourselves, to see, we check inside ourselves, have I done something, or do I deserve this, or can I improve myself in some way? And quite often we'll find that yes, there is some way we can improve it. And in fact, Jesus apparently said, don't look at the speck in your brother's eye, look at the log in your own. And this is an indication that under duress, under attack, under ignorance, we should actually look within ourselves first to see, is there anything within us that has caused that, or anything we can do to make it better. And generally there is, and particularly in the sense of reaction, because human behavior has many different levels, as we've discussed, and unconditional love is the highest form of human behavior. And with unconditional love appears a superintelligence, which, as the higher chakras are opened, we see more about life and we understand why things are happening. And so if we are in a situation of ignorance, we see the ignorance as a sort of an illness. We don't see it as an attack against our ego. We see it as something that's not understood by the person who's being ignorant. And in that seeing, in that clarity of vision, we can actually unconditionally love the person who's attacking us. And this is also a statement that Jesus made and demonstrated in his life. And I'm sure that many holy beings and saints and philosophers have also, shown this sort of behavior. So the universe actually gives us this beautiful awakening of spirit and knowledge and understanding if we're ready to, improve ourselves. So I'm suggesting, an interesting approach towards ignorance, and that is unconditional love. Now, it doesn't mean to say that you have to give up your truth. And, there's always this word surrender that's used, like Islam, the word Muslim, means one who surrenders to God. Now, many people would interpret that as being a sort of a laziness, that, you just lie around and do nothing. But it's the opposite, right? You're actually doing everything, but you're allowing spirituality to appear within you, and you're being aware and attempting to understand and use intelligence to improve our behavior. So this sense of surrender is also incorporated with truth, and so it's very powerful to speak truth with love, and we should do that. And so it's not a matter of us giving in to ignorance. There's a subtlety here. If one sees life as a spiritual adventure of the spirit, then one could say, well, I will speak my truth, I will speak my truth with love, however, I will not defend myself any further. And again, this is apparently the example that Jesus Christ showed when people attacked him and actually crucified him, and he allowed it to happen because he knew it was going to change the world, as it has. It's made huge. His apparent death, and I won't say he died on the cross, but his apparent death on the cross has changed the world, in a huge way. So the subtlety, of course, is this surrender to ignorance with unconditional love. And I, in my analysis of life, suggest that is the highest form of action. Believing that this whole experience is about spirit, so the body is a vehicle to enable the increased appreciation of spirit, and so if the body is destroyed, the spirit is not destroyed because it actually exists outside of time and space, which is an illusion. It's all vibration. And so the spirit is, in our worldly thoughts, eternal. So it's outside of time and space. So it's all, that's what matters. Then we get to the point of saying, well, should we defend ourselves, against ignorance? And certainly I think this is valid, and in fact it's shown by, for example, our immune system, that in our body we have all sorts of substances and life forms that are supportive and symbiotic with our daily existence. However, there are others that cause us issues and cause us problems, and our bodies have a system within us that when these creatures attack us, then we defend ourselves by sending out soldiers in the form of lymphocytes that go and destroy these invaders. So defense is certainly, I think, a valid behavior towards attack by ignorance. However, the highest response is unconditional love. And this whole philosophy, this whole very, very interesting discussion about ignorance and enlightenment and how we should approach ignorance is very beautifully described in the Bhagavad Gita, the great book of the Vedas, of the Mahabharatas in India, and of course the holy book of the Hindus. And I'd very much encourage you to read the Bhagavad Gita. It's a very short book, and there's a beautiful publication, a Penguin edition, by a translator called Juan Mascaro, Juan Mascaro, who wasn't even English, but he became a professor of English. I think he was Spanish. And I find the translation absolutely poetic. It's so, so, so beautiful. And it's this discussion of good and evil, attack and defense, what is the appropriate action of a human under these circumstances. And it's just beautiful. It gives us so much food for thought. So I'd really recommend that book. So there are these two approaches to ignorance, or three approaches actually. The first is reaction, to just give back whatever, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. The second is defense, so that you defend yourself against attack. And the third is unconditional love, and I think they're in a hierarchy of behavioural responses. I found in my earlier life that actually it went through that process. The first being just reaction, the second being defence, and the third being unconditional love. And unfortunately, in my case, it's taken me a long time to understand this. And I hope for you that your path will include, a full understanding of ignorance, and and how to, behave when ignorance comes into your realm, either within yourself or from someone else. So I hope you found this talk of interest, and I look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.